Welcome to the GCSE Music Support Session for submitting grades in summer 2020. The session today is an overview of the principle set out by Ofqual after the announcement on 3rd of April on the process for submitting grades this summer for GCSEs. If you have any queries after watching this video, please use the customer portal on the Pearson website, where there is a link at the end of the slides to this, or the Pearson Music community pages, and again there is a link to this group, so please do join that group. The agenda is to give a brief overview of the situation, look at the general principles set out by Ofqual, include possible evidence that you may consider for GCSE music when considering the centre assessment grade and the rank order, and then to look at an example of the process. The announcement to shut schools and to cancel the summer exams was made on 20th March by the Secretary of State, and that there would be a calculated grade for candidates issued in July. It was also stated further details would follow. As you can appreciate, it is an unprecedented situation, and it has taken a little time to confirm the process through discussions between awarding organisations Ofqual and DfE. On the 3rd of April, further information was given about how the grades will be awarded. And for every GCSE subject, a centre is required to submit a centre assessment grade for each student. They will also be required to provide a rank order of the students within each grade. So we will now look at the principles set by Ofqual in a little more detail and what this means. The centre assessment grade will be submitted by the head of centre and is the grade that each student is most likely to have achieved if they had sat the assessment this summer. It is a professional judgment from teachers derived from evidence held within the centre, but this is as far as possible in the context of the current public health advice. It is a holistic professional judgment balancing the different sources of evidence that you have available. Heads of department and teachers will consider each student's performance over the course of study and make it the judgment for the most likely grade each student would have achieved if they had sat the exam and completed the NEA tasks. Centres should also assume that it is no easier or harder for a student to achieve any grade this year compared to previous years. You will also need to provide a rank order for candidates within each grade. For example, if you have 4 candidates achieving a grade 5, then 1 would be the highest attaining or most secure candidate, 2 would be the next, and so on. If you have more than 1 teacher or cohort, then you will need to agree on 1 rank order for all students within the centre taking the subject. You won't be allowed to have tied rank orders. For example, 2 candidates can't be given position 1 in any grade. The submission would be returned to the centre to be amended, and this could cause delays in the process. Once centres have submitted all of the grades and rank order, awarding organisations will use statistical standardisation. The model for this is being developed with Ofqual and will be used to standardise grades across centres in each subject. It will combine a range of evidence that includes expected grade distribution at national level, results in previous years at centre level, and prior attainment profile of students at centre level. One thing to note is it won't change the rank order of students within a centre, and will also not assume that the distribution of grades in each subject and/or centres should be the same. So this means potentially the centre assessment grade could go up or down for some or all candidates within a centre. Moving on to look at how and when to submit. The centre assessment grade and the rank order must be signed off by at least 2 teachers in that subject, one of those being the head of department. If only one member of staff is in the subject, or only one member of staff is available, the other person could be the head of centre. This is then confirmed and signed off by the head of centre as a true representation of student performance. The system for submitting grades and the rank order is currently being developed, and there will be further news on this after Easter. One thing to note is you won't need to submit anything before the 29th of May, so you actually have plenty of time to prepare the evidence, consult with colleagues, and consider the grade and the rank order. You also won't be required to submit evidence of work, such as performances or compositions. The windows to submit centre assessment grades and the rank order will be for at least 2 weeks. And one thing to note is you must not share the centre assessment grade or rank order of students with any students, parents or carers, or any individuals outside of the centre before final results have been issued. Now we will look at the type of evidence you might want to consider for GCSE music. For performing, you may look at any recordings of performances that you have. For some students, you may have completed some or all of the recordings for performance. You may have a recording for solo performance, you may have a recording for ensemble performance, or you may have both. You can use this in the evidence that you're considering when deciding on a grade for a student. You may have run mock assessments for performing and use the recordings from these as evidence in this process as well. You may have run concerts in your centre and have recordings of these where students have performed, and again you can use these when you are considering the grade for a student. And another source may be instrumental lessons that happen within your centre, and you may have detailed feedback and progress and recordings from instrumental teachers, how students have progressed on their instrument over this time. Other useful sources of information could be the Principal Moderator Report from last year, and this would give an understanding of the national picture in the component. There's also exemplar material on the website, and this is useful to understand the standard in the component as well. You should consider the standard of this cohort compared with those in previous years. And you should also have your E9 Moderator Report, which could be helpful in guiding you in the decisions that you make about students this year. For composing, you can consider any completed compositions that you may have. This could be to the free composition or to a brief. You may have students that have incomplete compositions at this point, but these can be considered as well. You should look at the progress that the student has made on the compositions and the development that they have made over time. You may have set composition tasks in class or as homework, and again, the responses by students could be considered when you are looking at this grade overall. There is again the Principal Moderator Report that you could refer to get an understanding at a national level. And there is also exemplar material to help you understand the standard. You should consider the standard of composition for this cohort compared with previous years. And again, you could refer to your E9 moderator report from last year to help guide you in any decisions as well. When considering appraising, many of you may have carried out mock exams. And again, this could be an indication of how students could perform in the exam. You may have progress review data for learners in your centre, and this could be used as well. You will have completed classwork and homework, and this could help to give an indication of how students could perform in the exam. There is also the examiner report from 2019 and 2018, and this includes exemplars with commentary, and this can be useful to understand the responses to the different types of questions and how this cohort may refer to the questions and respond to those. And again, you should consider this cohort compared to previous years. So when deciding on a centre assessment grade, you need to bear in mind that students will generally achieve higher on NEA tasks than in exams. Therefore, your decision shouldn't just be based on NEA evidence, and you would need to balance your judgment about the candidate's likely performance in the exam as well. You should compare previous cohorts and their achievement in your centre, but you can also look at the grade boundaries from previous years and the grade statistics for the distribution of grades at a national level. So to look at an example of how this process works for GCSE music, we'll review how this works. The first thing to do is use your evidence and your professional judgment to give a centre assessment grade for each student. U is an expected grade, and you may have some candidates that you assign a U to as their centre assessment grade. Once you've done this for your cohort, you will then assign a rank order within each grade. In this example, we are looking at grade 4, where there are 5 candidates. Number 1 is the most secure candidate, moving down to number 5 as the least secure candidate. This is then approved by your head of department, and head of centre will sign this off and submit to the awarding organisation. There is a fourth step, which is the statistical standardisation process to finalise the grades. And this has the intention to issue grades in July 2020. As stated, this process is still to be finalised and more details will follow. There will also be further details on submitting grades, issuing results, any appeals process, and the opportunity for sitting or resitting the exams. This is expected after Easter. On some of this and the processes, there will be further consultation. So in terms of next steps for you and your centre, you need to check entries are complete and correct. You can then consider what evidence will be available to consider within your centre. You can then begin to work out centre assessment grades and consult with colleagues and decide on a rank order as well. And then just make sure that any grades or rank order aren't shared with students, parents, or carers. There are links here to the support portal where you can submit any questions, or to the music community pages on the Pearson website, and again, you can submit questions via here. I hope you found this useful.